Now for number 6, I want to show you how easy it is. But first, can you see there are a couple of things that are very special? What can you see from this equation? There are 2 negatives, right? So now let's do the common thing first. Okay, we will need to factor. So let's go ahead factor the negative out from the below the cube root or underneath the cube root. So we have this. Okay, now if I have to interpret this based on the 2 negatives, we'll be like, oh yeah, you have to reflect over the x-axis and then you have to reflect over the y-axis. And a moment ago, we said that if you reflect over the x-axis or reflect over the y-axis, they look exactly the same. Well, guess what? Well, cube root of a negative number is a negative number. These 2 negatives, you can actually bring this negative out. Because cube root of a negative number is still a negative number, so you can actually bring it out. And that's why they look exactly the same when you reflect to either of the axes. And what happens when you bring out the negative? Well, negative times negative is just positive. So now you're just down to this simple cube root function to graph, which is cube root of x minus 1 plus 2. So then you know the center of rotational symmetry is 1, 2. So you don't have to worry about reflection anymore because those 2 negatives are gone. They are gone. So that will be the graph. That's it. Okay. All right. Very simple. Very simple. X-intercept to be negative 7, 0. Y-intercept is 0, 1. Easy. Yes. Uh-huh. You mean, so are you asking like why this interprets as 1 to the right? That's a good question. Okay. Is it because you see the x minus 1, so then you are tempted to think about moving to the left? Okay, yeah. So I get the question, and that's a very good question. Because when I was first learning about this, I was like, huh? But it's x minus 1. Why is it moving to the right? So I spent some time to understand what's going on. The way I came up to explain this, how x minus 1 is actually moving to the right, is that I think about this as a compensation. You have x minus 1. Now, what if I want this to be 0? What must x be? It must be positive 1. So that's how I connect the dots together. Okay, if it's just a square, if it's just a cube root of x, well, how do I make the number underneath the cube root 0? Well, 0, right? But now with x minus 1, how can I make the number underneath the cube root 0? Well, you have to go to the opposite direction. So that's why I think of compensation. Okay, so in order to have in order to make x minus 1 is 0, then x would have to be a positive 1, going the opposite direction. From negative 1, I'm not going to say from negative 1 to 0 because originally, like this point right here, this is at 0, 0. So it moves to the right 1 unit. So from 0 to 1. Okay, and then the plus 2 means just moving up by 2. Okay, yeah, that's how I tell myself how to reconcile the fact that x minus 1 means move to the right by 1 unit. Okay.